Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Worms W.M.D. Funnily enough, that doesn't actually stand for Weapons of Mass Destruction. They've got these weird little cutscenes that give it a different little meaning every time to introduce things like the mech and the tank to you. It's actually quite good. They've got a bit of humor in their cheeks in this one, and it's quite nice because I quite missed that. I started this series with Worms Armageddon, and yes, the actual Worms Armageddon, not the Worms 2 Armageddon that they released on Xbox Live, or the Worms Armageddon they released on phones, because this series has like 30 fucking games in it. But yeah, there is a little bit of humor in there. I'd actually like to show you those cutscenes, but I don't think there's any way to replay them outside of the first time you see them, which is actually kind of annoying. But nevertheless, we'll go have a look at the game anyway. So this is Worms, and it's pretty obvious what it is, because I'd like to think everyone who's been playing games knows what this series is. But if you don't know what it is, it's basically what they call an artillery game, first invented by Scorched Earth back in the DOS days, where you have a bunch of single units who go up against another team of single units, and they have a bunch of ridiculous weapons in order to do damage to them. We'll get into how that all works shortly when we actually start playing a game, but I want to show you around all the menus first. So you can actually come here and see your profile, including your crafting recipes, which we'll get to. And you can also see what rewards you have for customizing your worms. You unlock these by playing single-player missions. And when you level up in single-player missions, you will unlock these. I think hats might be unlocked via the multiplayer. I'm not entirely sure. It's not 100% clear about this. And you can come here to your profile to see how much of the game you've cleared and what all your stuff is over on the right there. As you can see, I've played 4 games online and I've only won 1 of them, so that's not great. You can also see my vehicle stats and everything, so not that much to see. You've also got online leaderboards, which I'll give you a look at. There's both a ranked mode and unranked mode in this game, which is actually kind of nice. But yeah, you can see all the different little ranks going on here. It's just a leveling up system, nothing too out of the ordinary. There's not that much to see in the options menu. You can see a bunch of tutorials though, which is nice, but they don't actually give these to you in-game. So if you don't know how to play these games, I'd suggest reading through these first, because it'll tell you a lot that you need to know. Here's your control scheme. It's pretty simple. You can also use single Joy-Cons, and they will probably work fine. The game is fairly simple to learn the control scheme of, and it doesn't require that many buttons, so you'll probably be okay. Here's your settings menu, by the way. It's quite hard to navigate, because you can see those tiny little blue arrows there that are constantly changing because I'm pressing buttons. Yeah, that's how you navigate these bloody menus, instead of just doing something sensible like moving up and down these options and then configuring it with left and right, but whatever. One option I want to bring problem with here is the camera sensitivity. Even at the lowest, it's still too high for me. I'd like to see a little bit more wiggle room with that. No pun intended. But yeah, other than that, everything seems okay. Also, subtitles aren't turned on by default, but to be fair, in this game, you don't really need them, and you don't actually get them in-game anyway. So, yeah, I'm surprised I actually changed something. You can come here to the community, but there's not that much to see. It's just a news feed, and you don't really need to worry about that. You can see the news feed up in the top left there. It mainly just tells you what's new in this game, and surprisingly, it's not much, but everything they've added is actually quite nice. So, of course, in Worms fashion, you can customize your teams and your schemes. Your teams are your worms. You can name them. You can change their fort, as you can see on the left there, next to the jumping worm. You can change their fort extra, which is what's inside their fort. Their outfit, I much prefer the military helmet, because if you know what I'm referencing with my team name and my worm names, you're awesome. You can also change their victory dance. Oh no, the speech bank, sorry. So you can probably hear that. I can't. I don't have like headphones in or anything right now, so I can't exactly hear that. Notably, there is actually a fair few references to online people here. Like, as you can see, Achievement Hunter had films in the Littlewood. Admittedly, I actually really like Achievement Hunter's Worms videos, so I'm not going to be one to complain about this, because they actually have done a lot for Team 17 as far as I'm aware, so I'm not going to argue too heavily. There's your victory dances. I actually quite like the bouncing the grenade off the head, but I do prefer my classic happy worm jump. There's your gravestones, by the way. You unlock more of these as you level up, as I said before, and you can also change your fanfare, but I keep it on club because, again, it's a reference to my worm names and team name. You can also check out... Oh. There we go. You can also check out your schemes. So schemes are basically just game settings, an overall set of game settings. So you can see just all your little settings that you've got on the right there. And there's a fair amount of stuff that you can play around with, including all the new features. So if you feel like just playing a game of classic Worms, you can, which is actually really nice. And here's all your different weapons for you. There's your crafting options, which we'll get into. You can even give people custom crafted weapons, which is nice because there's a lot of unique weapons they've got in the crafted weapons that are just a lot of fun to use. And there's your forts mode as well. So the game's got two main modes. You've got single player campaign stuff. You've got a bunch of training missions, which are pretty good. They give you a little bit of practice of everything in particular. You have campaign missions, which are all pretty simplistic. Like, you can see all the objectives down there, but mostly it's just defeat all the enemy worms, or defeat the final enemy worm, or defend your vital enemy worm, or collect a crate. It's pretty simple stuff. At least the objectives give you a fair bit of replay value, because it's almost impossible to get all three of these objectives done at once. But they're good practice for the multiplayer mode. You do also have a bunch of other stuff. Like, you've got challenges that you can find by playing the campaign levels and finding these wanted posters. However, I'm not that big of a fan of these levels here because they're mainly just mazes. They're more or less just mazes that you have to navigate in a certain way. I was hoping they were going to be like really powerful worms that would need certain tactics to defeat, but no. They're just mazes that you have to go through. You do also have extra and bonus missions, which are just more campaign missions. So while the game says you get 30, you get like 42, along with the challenge and the training missions. We're not actually going to play any of them because they're not fantastic examples of what Worms is like. We're actually going to go hop into the multiplayer stuff. Now, I'm not actually going to play online because when I was playing before, there weren't that many people online, and I don't trust there to be that many people online now. But I'll let you have a quick look at the options here. So you can go 1 versus 1 against a ranked person, and that's a specific scheme. Or you can actually make your own unranked game. And the French town massacre. The nice thing about this is that you can actually set any map, scheme, and team layout that you want. So you can actually go and play like, oh, I didn't actually mean to, I'm sorry, mate, that's not what I meant to do. But you saw that there for a few seconds. But yeah, you can set any scheme and anything you want to, and people will be able to come and join it, which is actually pretty good. The unfortunate thing is this game doesn't have Shopper, which I quite like, which is the Worms custom scheme, where you go and you have to collect a crate before you can attack an enemy. It doesn't actively support that, so if you're trying to play Shopper online with randoms who don't know what Shopper is, you're going to have a bad time. But any of those options you saw before in the schemes can be configured in this. And I was actually playing a game of quote-unquote classic Worms, where there was no crafting, there were no vehicles, and there were none of the newer weapons. It was just all the basic stuff, and I had a great time. So you can also play local wireless, so you can play against a couple of other switches. And of course, if you come here to the local game, you can add extra players and play with like single Joy-Con or a single controller or what have you. The options are all there. It's a Worms game. If they weren't, I'd be very upset. So I'm going to add 4 AI players. And they can get relatively difficult, but at the same time, I have played a lot of Worms games, and for some reason, they seem to be a lot more suicidal than they have been recently. It's a bit weird, I gotta say, just because they are surprisingly capable of basically just hurting themselves. It's a bit weird, honestly. But yeah, you can choose a few things here. So you can choose your different map, you can choose how it's configured, so I can make a caverns so that you can't use any, hang on, I'll just generate that. I'll just make a cavern so that you can see that you can't use anything like airstrikes. You can also turn on things like buildings, which are also new as far as I'm aware. They might have been in, please tell me I haven't crashed the game. Nope, there we go, it just took a while. But yeah, you can see that there's no, sky, so no air-striking weapons, which is nice. I'm going to go back to multiple islands, and I'm actually going to play on Wormhole, because Wormhole is the one that they included in the Switch version as a unique theme, so that won't be in the other versions yet, so it'll be a good little demonstration. We're going to play on intermediate. Everything seems correctly set up here. I like that I'm automatically blue. Good job, game. And I just want to check the scheme settings real quick, which I can actually do up here. I just want to make sure that everything seems in order to me. There is also Forts mode. And Forts mode is actually pretty neat. It's basically just two islands either side of each other. And it's basically just a team game, but you're both on one island each. It's kind of a neat little thing. But nevertheless, we will go and start the game, shall we? 10 minutes in, he says, looking at his recording clock. Oh dear. Alright, looks like Hawking gets to be the first to go, but... So this is Worms. It is... Oh god, look at that guy. 3 worms up there already. Lucky bastard. Actually, that's Team Gav, isn't it? Yeah, that is Team Gav. Alright. But anyway, we're just gonna watch the AI take its turns for a bit. So Worms is... As I said, it's a very simple concept. It's a bunch of units, individual units, and they are all fighting for supremacy via the usage of a bunch of ridiculous weaponry. And it's taken in turns. So everybody gets to wait around and wait for them to all finish their turns. However, this isn't actually true. So if I hit the Y button, you can see our weapon selection here, which is a perfectly fine selection of weapons. Like, they've got all the basic stuff. Like, they've got the Super Sheep, the Banana Bomb, the Holy Hand Grenade, the Armageddons, a couple of new things like the OMG Strike, the Unwanted Present, the Dodgy Phone Battery. Just a bunch of silly stuff like that, you know? Nothing too over the top. Like, this isn't bloody, Scorched 3D, where there was, like, 200-something weapons. No, this game's got a relatively reasonable set of weapons, but at the same time, it's got some pretty silly shit. So... basically, you move left and right, you've got a jump button, you can double tap it to flip, you can use the A button to fire, Y button to access your weapons, and I'm going to use a shotgun because this actually has a fair bit of knockback, and I have more than one of them, so... Oh no, never mind, I guess I'm going to be doing a bunch of, guess I'm going to be doing some damage, but not actually killing this guy. I should have used, like, a fire punch or something, oh well. Almost had him. But yeah, the general idea is you got a turn clock, you got to get over to your enemies and use your weapons as fast as possible. And for this, you have a few navigational tools as well. You've got a blowtorch, which will let you drill through the earth, a ninja rope, which will let you swing. They did a really good job with the ninja rope in this game, by the way. If I have the opportunity to demonstrate it, I will. But on this map, it's not entirely likely. What's he going to do? He's going to put a mine down. Of course he is. I don't have the best luck in positioning right now. Anyway, he's still taking his turn, so I just got to wait for that to time out before I get to go to the weapons panel. So, you've got your weapons, and there are crates that can drop from the sky and give you new weapons and crafting material. Oh, speak of the devil. Other controls are pretty simple. Right stick moves your camera, ZL and ZR will zoom in and out. L changes the names of things, and R changes your things like grenade fuses. There is also the X button, which will let you enter vehicles, which you saw me do a little bit ago. We'll probably get to see a little bit more of that later on, because there's a helicopter ride there. There was a land boat there that I got into for like 15 seconds. And there is also a mech that you can play around with, which is actually pretty neat. But anyway, if you press the Y button while you're in your opponent's turn, there is something notable about this. In your... Whoa. That was a miss. In your enemy's turns, in most Worms games, you're not actually capable of doing anything. But in this game, they've actually done something kind of neat. There is a crafting system. You can see down in the bottom there that I have four different kinds of resources, I should say. I have 3. The 4th one I don't have any copies of. You can see that I have a bunch of resources down there. Now, if I come into the crafting menu, I can actually play with this when it's not my turn. And I can hit dismantle on a weapon, and when the next turn is over, when this turn is over and it goes into the next turn, it'll give me a bunch of resources. Oh, rest in peace, Teresa. But yeah, it'll actually give me a bunch of resources. Crafting takes 1 turn. No matter whose turn it is, it takes 1 turn. So if you press the Y button, now you can see that my stuff's been deconstructed and I have stuff that I can use. However, I'm just gonna... Actually, I think it's time to demonstrate the ninja rope. So, ninja rope time. It's pretty easy to understand. You are a ninja on a rope. Here's that. Come on, make it. Yes! There we go. Eat shit. But anyway, as I was saying about the crafting system for the 3rd fucking time. So, once you have enough resources gained by either collecting weaponry and dismantling it, or collecting the crates, you can come into this menu and craft new weapons. So as you can see, I can craft this if I have 10 out of 8 boggy special sauce, sticky donkey paste, and banana bomb seeds. So next turn, I'm going to have a holy hand grenade. However, you can also craft a bunch of other things. There are a bunch of unique weapons, like the Liberty Strike is my personal favorite. It's a really, really strong airstrike. It takes a lot of resources to craft, but if you can fire one off at like a group of 4 worms, for fuck's sake. I'm not going to last much longer in this game, am I? I'm really not. Like, I've got like 2 worms left. I'm really not too lucky with this, am I? Yeah, there's my last worm up there on the top. But yeah, as I said, the Liberty Strike, really good. There's a bunch of other different kinds of weapons as well. Like, you can see exactly what all the special weapons are in this little crafting menu here and what they do. Like, some of them are not that unique, I'll say that. You can see that some of them are just enhanced versions. Like, some just adds like poison effects and some just makes the explosion bigger. But as I said, the Liberty Strike is fucking ridiculous. Sheep on a rope is like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. But you see, there's goat on a rope, which is obviously an advertisement sort of thing. And sheep on a long rope. What else is there that's like more unique? Angry concrete donkey. That's silly. Safe teleport. 10 seconds of retreat time, which you don't usually get. That's very useful. A full blow torch and a tunnel kit, which I assume is like a bloody pneumatic drill. But yeah, you get the general idea. You can craft yourself some more useful stuff if you absolutely want it. So I'm actually going to dismantle this mine to give myself a little bit more in the way of crafting recipes. But yeah, I actually really like this system, mainly because it gives you something to do on the opponent's turn, which has always been a problem for this series. You've never had anything else to do but wait around and wait for your teammates to take their turn, or your enemies, what have you. So it just kind of sucks, because it means that you have basically nothing that you can do. Thankfully, in this game, there is with the crafting system, it means you do actually have something that you can do, and it is actually relevant to the strategy of the game, which is really nice. Hello, Pariah. I actually have a lot of friends on Switch. I have something like 30, maybe 50. I can't remember the exact number, but yeah, it turns out a lot of people are very friendly in Doom. If you've played a game of Doom and you run into someone, chances are they'll send you a fucking friend request. But yeah, it means that you've got something to do during your turn when everyone else is busy doing something, which is nice. Also, it means that if you've got weapons you don't want, you can exchange it for weapons you do want, which is actually awesome. Because I never use things like mines in my games, for example. So being able to deconstruct them and turn them into sheep is actually pretty damn useful. So I am actually a really big fan of this, and I hope that they continue using this mechanic in other games in the future, because there is a lot of potential in this mechanic. My only problem with it is that when you're deconstructing, you only get a certain amount of certain kinds of resources, and some weapons require some way powerful resources, like the Tears of a Worm, which is the 4th resource, the one down the bottom there and the one on the far right. It is really hard to get Tears of a Worm, and I would like a little bit of say, a warning, or not so much a warning, but like a little bit of oh wow, this is how you actually get the kamikaze in this game, is it? Well, you just completely missed with that phone battery, mate. Well done. But as I was saying, you don't have an easy way to tell what weapons will give you Tears of a Worm or a specific crafting resource without going and actually looking at them in the menu for them. So it means that you just kind of have a little bit of a problem with that. I would like to see a easy way to tell what will give you something like Tears of a Worm or not. But, oh, damn it. But I mean, other than that, I like the system and I think it's great because it means that you can either use your crafting abilities to get you an absolute ton of extra resources, and you can use them to build yourself new weapons that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I am a very big fan of that indeed, because it just means that, and it also means that you have something to do during your enemy's turn, which is even better. Like I say, I have an absolute ton of the first grade resource now, but I don't have any for the, no, he just teleported. He's probably going to be extremely easy to kill while he's up there, but I'm probably not going to take that chance because I'm currently coming last. Apparently the AI hates me. But yeah. The other new features are the vehicles, and you've seen a couple of vehicles before, and when it's my turn, which I assume it will be with Lawrence Mujari up there, I'll make my best attempt to get to that helicopter and show it off. You saw a little bit of the land shark over there, which is actually a vehicle I haven't seen yet, but you've got the helicopter there, which will obviously let you fly. It is worm selected up there, which is kind of annoying, because I'd like to get into that helicopter without taking too much damage, but oh well. Nope, he's actually going to get in, but thankfully in this game you can literally just walk up to someone and Grand Theft Auto their ass and kick them out of their vehicle, which is great. Yeah, but the vehicles themselves are actually a pretty neat idea as well, because they're map-based. As far as I'm aware, you can't drop in a vehicle, because vehicles in this game are, well, they really are quite powerful. They give you a little bit of extra damage resistance, and the helicopter can fly. The mech actually has this massive ground slam, which works a lot like a baseball bat. And you've also got the, oh dear. I'm not entirely sure what that, wow, that did a lot of damage. I guess that's what the, phone battery does. But, yeah, they do a fair amount of damage with their weaponry. There's the tank, which has, like, tank shells, which are ridiculously powerful. There's, yeah, and there's the mech, which has this slam, which will send dudes flying. So, let's Grand Theft Auto this guy's ass, shall we? So now I have access to a helicopter. I can actually use it to do damage to some ass, because, yeah, this guy hasn't taken any damage yet. So, I'm just going to make my way back over here, because, when I come down, I'm going to come down hard. There we go. I'll take that. And I did some massive damage to that guy as well without letting him get that health crate, which I'm a big fan of. But yeah, the vehicles themselves are actually really nice. The fact that they're a map, like, little thing means that they're about as random as everything else. So, you know, if you end up with, like, 3 worms on top of a cliff and there's, like, a mech right there as well, it means that you'll get to it first, but, you know, it's all just, like, it's all more or less random. You know? Like, it's the same sort of random that Worms is known for, and I'm fine with that. It makes things a little bit more interesting, and the vehicles aren't extremely overpowered, because, again, during someone else's turn, you can literally just go up and Grand Theft Auto them. Which is actually a really nice thing, because when someone gets in a mech, they're going to look next to indestructible, but as long as you can get to them, that vehicle is yours, and then you can just use it against them straight away, which is, like, seriously, it's a really nice thing that you can do. And I like the fact that they're adding something new without fiddling with the formula too much, because while the vehicles themselves are actually preset in their ways, they are entirely capable of, you know, just adding to the challenge and the fun of the game. Which I know sounds like the most generic thing I've ever said, but that's really what they do. They make things more interesting without getting too over the top about it, and I like that a lot. Alright, so it's going to be my turn next. I would have loved to get that health crate up there, but I'm not going to get there and back in time, because I want to try and take out these sons of bitches. I'm not going to use the drill boat, though, because that's probably not a good idea. I don't even know how that thing works, so it's the last thing I want to do. So if I aim low with this, not what I was hoping to do, but at least I'm not going to be able to get baseball batted myself, and we're back down to a more even standing, which I like. Alright, let's see if Jazz Hands knows how to use this land boat, because I've never seen it before, and we'll see what it looks like here. What else do I have to say about it other than the stuff that I want to get into afterwards? I don't like the camera very much, which is a bit weird, because the camera in these games is usually really good. It's good at tracking what's going on and all of that. But in this game, for whatever reason, it can't track very well. It won't actually look at a weapon when it's being fired, which I can kind of understand, because, you know, the games have always done that before, which has always been slightly annoying, because it means you can't see what else is around the field if you need to have a good look around. But at the same time, completely disabling that tracking means I have no idea what's going on if I'm looking in the wrong direction, which is really quite distracting. And being able to see what's going on at a glance is something really important, but also seeing what's actually going on in the turn of the worm that's actually being taken is also important too. So I can understand why it's a bit of an issue. However, there is something that they've done which is actually kind of strange in the whole scheme of things, and they use oh fuck. Here goes a carpet bomb. That stung a lot. Jesus. All I know is that next turn I need to take out Jazz Hands and take cover, because I have absolutely no health whatsoever. But as I was saying, yeah, the weird thing about the camera is that if you click the right stick, it will click back in to where your where the worm taking his turn is, which is really strange. Mega Punch. He must have crafted it. Oh no, parachute. Oh, he's gonna Mega Punch him. Okay. Let's see what this does. Absolutely sends him flying. Awesome. If only that actually sent him into the water, that would have been one less issue on top of me. Right, I'm gonna go get that health crate. But if you click on the right stick, it will automatically recenter where your dude is. But not only that, but it will, if you hold the button down, it'll lock the camera. So, like, it'll lock the camera on what's going on. Which is something that I would like to see as an option. I'd like to see the camera just, an option to have the camera stick when you click in the right stick. So, have it be a free camera when you press it, when you don't press it, but then you press it, and then it locks. An option for that would be absolutely fantastic. I'm probably not going to use a sentry gun, so I think I'll dismantle that this turn. Performance is fine, for the most part. I think the overall technical performance of the game is good. It doesn't seem to skip that many... Holy shit. That was a hell of a bounce. If only it actually hit him, but, yeah. The game is, yeah, the game runs perfectly fine, frame rate wise. It seems to be able to keep up. I did do an Armageddon on a large map with the camera zoomed all the way out, and it seemed to handle it just fine. The online multiplayer performance is something I want to talk about, though. For the most part, it's absolutely fine. It keeps up pretty well. However, there is one or two things about it which is actually kind of annoying. The game... Can I do, can I get a carb bomb on my own? That would actually be really useful right now. when you introduce vehicles into the online stuff, the game seems to have a fit, and I'm not entirely sure why. I've had multiple games where, as I said, I've only had 4 games, but, you know, that's a fair amount of online time for a Worms game, right? I've only had 4 games, and the weird thing is, whenever the... I'm just thinking about what I'm going to actually put down here, sorry. Whenever the game would be like... had to take out that one worm there, didn't ya? Right, I'm down to my last worm. I need to make him count.
You will salute me, soldier.
But yeah, sometimes with the vehicles, like, sometimes they'll just end up in entirely different positions than you would expect them to based on the game, right? So you'll just end up, like, shooting a vehicle, and you'll do enough damage to it to make it explode, but then the next turn will come around, and the vehicle will suddenly magically pop back to life, like your previous turn never happened. It's kind of strange like that, and as far as I'm aware, vehicles are the only thing in this game that actually do it. And I'm not entirely sure why. It's a bit odd. Might be something that needs to be fixed in the patch, but... yeah. Oh, great. He's gonna fire that at me, isn't he? Oh, no, it's just a regular bazooka. Thankfully, helicopters are stronger than that. But yeah, that's a weird bug. I'm not entirely sure why it's a thing, but it's a thing. What else is there? Other than that, the multiplayer is absolutely fine. I managed to play this game for a fair bit longer than I would have expected on my battery. It's actually pretty conservative with it, which is nice, considering that the Switch's battery isn't particularly fantastic. What else is there? Could have sworn I had something else to say, but I've gone and lost it. Well, I will say that, I might as well talk about the single-player campaign. As I said, the single-player campaign is really simple. It's just a bunch of standalone fights. I wish there was a little bit more to it, like a little bit more story, like in, Worms Ultimate Mayhem, which is my second favorite Worms game, outside of, like, Armageddon and World Party, which I count as the same game, just because World Party is basically just an expansion pack more than anything else. What else is there? I'm gonna go get that weapon. I should have got that when I, played last turn. Oh, it's a banana bomb. Oh, I'm so tempted to use that on a cheeky bastard down here right now, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, because this helicopter probably isn't going to last me too much longer. Buildings. That's what I was going to talk about. The buildings. Buildings in this game are weird. So you've got these little, they are literally buildings, and unless you're directly inside of them on that turn, you are not going to be able to see inside it, which is a bit odd, I gotta say. Eat banana bomb, ass. This might actually kill me. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm definitely dead. I probably should have thought of my escape strategy a little better. I should have ninja roped up there and just dropped it. Oh no, I am actually dead. Oh well. We can see how the rest of this game plays out, I suppose. There goes the helicopter. That would have done a lot of damage if I was still in it. Oh well, I wiped out a team and I get an instant replay. That's nice. But yeah, with buildings, what happens is, when you're inside them, you can see what's inside them and what's going on and all that, what worms are in there. But if you're outside them, or even worse, you're outside them and you're watching another team take another turn, it means that you can't see inside the building, so you have no idea what's going on. And it's a bit odd, I gotta say. I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with that, but... well, it's a thing. Just worth mentioning. I'd love an option to be able to see inside buildings all the time. I can understand why they wouldn't let you do that, because, I mean, in forts mode, basically the forts are just giant buildings, all of their own. So you don't want to be able to see inside your other team's building, because it just means that you won't be able to. It just means that you'd have no like mystery as to where they actually are hiding in their fort. So you'd end up in a position where you'd be able to just see where they are all the bloody time, and just you know, fire straight at them, which would kind of defeat the point of forts mode. You can play with up to 6 teams, which means you can have like 12 worms per team if you do it like on a 2-team basis, which is actually a pretty neat little thing. And as I said, you've got plenty of scheming options, so if you don't feel like playing with the crafting, all that, you've got the option to turn it off, which is actually really nice. Because I can see why people wouldn't like the crafting and stuff in this game. You already saw all that on the scheme options menu, though. I don't mind the style. I'm not that big of a fan of some of the voice banks. Voice banks in this game have always been a little bit downhill since Worms World Party. But, in this series, I should say, since Worms World Party. But they're not too bad in the grand scheme, although I probably will end up turning them off if I end up playing this game any further. Hang on, I'll zoom in and I'll hold in on the right stick so you can see what everyone's doing. So, the game is, I actually don't remember how much it is. You know, considering that I'm not actually doing anything right now, let me just look up the price of Worms W.M.D. on my clacky keyboard. Well, actually, right now it's like 66% off on Steam, which is kind of unusual. Well, actually, not really. It's Black Friday sale, but it's just weird having games be full price on the Switch. $29.99. You know what? For that price, I'd say this is reasonable. You get 40 single-player levels, fully functional online multiplayer with different schemes and all that, so you can play however you choose. And of course, it's Worms, but not without any stupid mechanics. It's not like Worms Revolution with the silly water mechanics and the classes. And it's not like Battlegrounds, which was just a bit annoying with the campaign and all that, and it still had the classes. No, they've taken it back a little bit to the old-style Worms while still adding a bunch of mechanics that are interesting, but don't massively change the flow of things. And I like that a lot better than what they've done in the past couple of games. Would have loved to see this one on Vita, actually. It would have been way more impressive than this. It's got a little bit of color back into its cheeks. I really like what they've done with it, actually. If you're even, like, remotely a fan of Worms and you're looking for a copy on the Switch, like, I have no reservations about saying this is worth your time picking up. I have enjoyed what I've played of it, and if I ever feel the need to play a Worms game, like, on the go, and I don't have Worms Armageddon with me, which I don't, because, you know, Worms Armageddon is a PC game. If you ever feel the need to play a Worms game on the go, I would fully recommend this over, like, Battlegrounds and Revolution Extreme and whatever other Worms games that you've got going, because this game's good. This game is actually pretty good. I like seeing Worms I like seeing Worms going back to basics while not just overstuffing itself with needless mechanics that just complicate things and don't make it pick up and play easy. Of course, I have said that I have a couple of issues with it in this video, you know, like crafting being a little bit annoying because you don't know what to deconstruct to get you like Tears of a Worm, the camera being a little bit odd, the camera sensitivity being a little too high, but I mean, these are just nitpicks. In the grand scheme of things, these are all just nitpicks, and, you know, hopefully they'll be able to patch them, but I mean, it's still a pretty good game. Hopefully they'll patch it to fix a couple of things, but I mean, other than that, it's perfectly fine as a Worms game. And I'd recommend it if you're looking for this. Wow, someone's actually gonna hit someone else for once. Oh, that might actually do it. There we go. Nice airstrike, guys. Yep, they're the winner. Not actually who I was expecting to win, considering they were at half health when Green was at full health with 4 worms. But then again, I did sacrifice myself to get rid of the Greens. So, there you go. Although I did do a massive amount of damage, which is actually kind of nice. But, yeah, there we go. That was a look at Worms W.M.D. I like it. I think it's worth your time. And if you're looking for a Worms game that will actually come with you on the go, this will do the trick. Not to mention how interesting it'll be to take this along, snap the Joy-Cons off, and have 2-player worms with, like, all the crafting and stuff going on. I was playing, although even then, I was playing a game online with, like, all the crafting and the vehicles and all the extra stuff turned off, and we were just playing classic worms. And we were having a great time. Like, 4 worms in a game of 12 worms killed themselves. We did some stupid shots and some stupid good shots, and it was just a great time. Yeah. I mean, it feels like worms again. So there you go. If you want worms, here's worms. Come get some worms. How many other ways can I say this to make it sound creepy? Get some worms right up in here. Alright, I'm gonna stop. I'll see you all next time.